Yo guys, what's going on? It's Russ here, bringing you guys the Week 1 battle for the Devil's Den Draft League. We're playing against Hayes L, coach of the New Orleans Noiverns. This is going to be the team builder before the match. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it here. I said it again in the battle. It's going to be a post-com today. When I played this game, I just was not feeling a live commentary, but, you know, I'm here for you guys now. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get right into our team builder, but first of all, we're going to go over the matchup. If you don't know, our team consists of Goldango, Baxcalibur, Toadscruel, Azumarill, Iron Jugulus, Chansey, Armarouge, Grafii, Aquatoros, Spidops, and Jolteon, which is our Terra Captain. And Hayes' team starts off with Dragapult as his Terra Captain, Quaquaval, however you want to fucking pronounce it, Clodsire, Scizor, Rotom Heat, Weavile, Gardevoir, Lycanroc Dusk, Brute Bonnet, Dunsparce, and Talonflame. Few things to note. The fucking duck is scary. It's a pain in the ass. I don't want to deal with it. It's kind of annoying. Also, Dragapult, the only thing we have for it is Chansey. That is the only thing we have to switch in Dragapult. No matter what, that is the only thing we have. And Rotom, he can be a little scary depending on the set. Weavile can be scary. Clodsire can be a little bit hard for us to break. I'm expecting it to come just because of it's like his one switch into Azu. And then Lycanroc, kind of just Life Orb Lycanroc is a problem for our team as well. Or Choice Band Lycanroc, whatever he decides to end up bringing. But yeah, first up, we're going to bring Frigo, our Goldango here. Very, very, very important this game. Well, sort of important this game. With the Colbur Berry, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Make It Rain, and Nasty Plot. I believe this has enough speed to outspeed... What the fuck am I speed creeping? I am speed creeping a Gardevoir, I believe, with this. So, realistically, he doesn't have much of any switch-in to this. Like, he doesn't have a great switch into this thing. His best thing would be, like, a Rotom, and that's about it. Otherwise, he kind of has a problem. But, you know, that's just kind of the thing. But, you know, hopefully it's not too much of a problem. But yeah, this thing, once I get up a Nasty Plot, there's basically no switching into it. So hopefully we can get that in place. Next up, we have Thriller, the Jolteon, rocking the Expert Belt with the Quick Feet ability, just because if he does bring Gardevoir, I do expect it to be Trace, and I don't want to give it free Volt Absorb. Volt Switch, Shadow Ball, Terra Ice, Terra Blast, and Thunderbolt. Enough speed for the Talonflame. Rest and special attack, little bit into HP. The defense doesn't really matter. It's just for odd HPs. But yeah, with this speed, like I said, we outspeed the Talonflame and everything below it, barring Scarfers or anything like that. Obviously, Excel Rock Lycanroc is a thing. If he wants to bring any Scarfers, we don't really outspeed any of those. Like if he wants to bring Scarf Duck or Scarf Gardevoir, I believe both of those outspeed us. So those are things to note. Like I said, the only reason I'm bringing Quick Feet is because of Trace Gardevoir. Otherwise, Volt Absorb... I mean, Volt Absorb doesn't really help me anyway, outside of Rotom, so... You know, it's fine. Next up, we got Ferdinand, the Aquatoros, rocking Raging Bull, Close Combat, Earthquake, and Aqua Jet with the Life Orb and the Intimidate ability. This is enough speed for the Duck as well. Nothing crazy here. This is also basically like my Lycanroc check. And a little bit of my check to the Duck. Like, it checks the Lycanroc really well. It checks the Weavile really well as well. It checks the Scizor pretty well. Because I believe they got rid of Dual Wing Beat in this generation, so... Or at least they got rid of it on that, I think. Could be wrong. The only thing that really, like, would do too much damage to this thing would be something like the Dragapult, obviously. Talonflame would hurt. Gardevoir would hurt. And Rotom Heat would hurt. But I'm not too worried. Aqua Jet is just to, like, revenge a Talonflame, if need be. Or to get a little bit of extra trip on, like, a Dragapult or something. Next up, we have our Dragapult switch-in. Joy, the Chansey, is coming in this week with the Eviolite and the Natural Cure ability. Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Heal Bell, and Soft Boiled. Now, Ice Beam, obviously, for the Dragapult, for the Clodsire, for, you know, mainly those two things. It also can touch Brute Bonnet. But we also have Flamethrower, which is quite effective against that Scizor. Hits that Brute Bonnet, hits the Weavile. Ice Beam also hits the Clodsire. I don't know if I said that. Physically defensive because realistically, we don't need much of any special defense this week. because, I mean, you see its stats, it doesn't really need Spadef at all. It takes every hit from Dragapult, and it can kind of take on the Gardevoir as well, even if it's running Psyshock. So, physical defense kind of made sense, just so that we can get less damage by U-turns and Ice Shards from the Weavile or something. You know, just take as little damage as possible. But yeah, this thing, it's my guaranteed check to that fucking dragon. If I don't have this for the dragon, I'm fucked. So there's that. Next up, we got Andromeda, the Iron Jugulus with the Charty Berry, and Quark Drive is the ability, obviously. Dark Pulse, Hurricane, Flamethrower, U-turn, with enough speed. I believe that's for the duck as well. Modest nature on this, just because max special attack Modest rips through his team. He has no switch-ins to it. And I didn't need to run Timid. I could have ran Timid and savored some IVs or some EVs, but to me that doesn't really help. Charty Berry, because I believe this allows us to take a Life Orb Stone Edge from the Lycanroc. But you know, nothing like outside of that. The Charty Berry is basically so that way I can hit the Lycanroc if I need to. That is entirely its reason for being here. That is it. Full disclosure, that is the entire reason for it. But yeah, hopefully it goes well. Yeah, this thing can kind of just rip through his team. And I believe, last but not least, we have Bleezus the Azumarill with the Life Orb and Huge Powers the abilities. Play Rough, Liquidation, Ice Spinner, and Aqua Jet. Enough speed for the Scizor. Uninvested. Max Attack Adamant, Rest in HP. Nothing crazy here. This thing, again, very, very limited switch. His only switch-in is the Clodsire. Outside of that, Dual Stab rips through his entire team, and he does not have anything. He can't do anything about it. Dual Stab rips through everything barring Clodsire. That is the only reason I think Clodsire is going to show up, is specifically to check this. So, hopefully, if it does show up, because I'm assuming it's going to be Water Absorb, so that's the only reason I say that. Ice Spinner is specifically for that. It does hit the Dragapult, obviously, but we can Play Rough that. Helps, again, with Brute Bonnet, but again, Play Rough. Ice Spinner is basically just here for Clodsire. Otherwise, if I don't bring Ice Spinner, I lose to... this does not beat Clodsire, and it's going to be very hard for me to break it outside of this. But, yeah, guys, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get right into the battle for you guys, and I'll see you here in a second. Peace out. Yo, guys, what's going on? It's Rose here. Pretty guys, week 1 of the DDL. We're facing off against Hates, coach of the New Orleans Noiverns. Really excited for this matchup. As you've seen from the team builder, it's a very, very, very... not like a tough matchup, but it's a tough one. But yeah, I'm really excited for this matchup. I've never played Haze before, but I'm really hoping for a good battle at this point. It is going to be post-com today. Just as of recording the game, I had just worked 6 days straight. I was exhausted. I didn't want to do live commentary. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get straight into the battle here. Just going through the motions, I'm figuring out what my lead is going to be based on what he's brought. You know, there's no Weavile, there's no Gardevoir, no Brute Bonnet, anything like that. Nothing crazy. I'm just going to lead off with Jolteon here, because I figure, you know what? The only thing that can outspeed me is the Dragapult, and I'm not really worried about Dragapult, because Chansey just walls it completely. If he wants to lead off with Dragapult, I hard switch into Chansey. Not a problem. But yeah, so definitely Jolteon's the best matchup here, and if he leads with Clodsire, I can either just hard switch, or I can like Terra Ice and Terra Blast it. I have a couple of situations, you know, a couple of outings here, but he ends up leading with Talonflame. Phenomenal for me. And like I said, I'm sitting here right now I'm thinking, okay, I can either Volt Switch, I can Thunderbolt this thing, or I could just hard switch. I could Terra Blast, predicting Clodsire to come in, but if he does go Clodsire, like I'm kind of expecting him to, I don't want to Volt Switch or Thunderbolt, because then that kind of forces me to switch out. That puts me on the back foot. Terra Blasting could work out, but again, if I Terra Blast and Terra and do all that kind of stuff, me being Ice type, I'm weak to like Flare Blitz, and I'm no longer resistant to Brave Bird. I just end up hard switching out, because I don't want to deal with it. I go right into Azumarill. Azumarill is a really solid check to this thing. It takes about less than half from Brave Bird, so He ends up switching out, which is kind of what I was expecting. He ends up going into Rotom, however. Now, I prepped this Azumarill, as you see, or as you saw in the team builder, I prepped this thing to outspeed Scizor. I didn't outspeed the Rotom, but he doesn't know that, and that kind of works out for me a little bit. I also, at this point, it had been a week since I had built this team, so I just Ice Spinner, predicting him to swap into Clodsire, because at that point, that's his switch in, and if he doesn't have Clodsire, then Azumarill just kind of clicks buttons. And as you see here, Ice Spinner is a very, very, very convincing 2-hit KO. Super happy with that. If he stays in, it sucks, but you know, I get Volt Switched on, and that kind of puts me on the back foot, which I don't want to do. I took a risk, but it definitely paid off. But I'm like, you know what? I could liquidate, but I'm just going to Ice Spinner. I don't want to predict him swapping out and saving him this for later. I'm just going to, you know, hit what's in front of me. I'm not going to worry about it too much. And we are playing on 20-minute timer, so I kind of have to, like, pick quickly. I have to make decisions fast, because if I don't, that kind of puts me at a disadvantage. He ends up going into the Talonflame, and I'm sitting here like, you know what? I could Aqua Jet, but if I Aqua Jet, then that's just going to force me to Aqua Jet next turn, and he could swap into something that, you know, something like the Quaquaval, which takes that hit very, very well, and I don't want to give him a free switch into that. I don't want to give him a switch into his, like, one of his probably his biggest threat to me, for free. I don't want to do that. So, I'm looking here, and I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure, because I have a decent amount of bulk into the, I have like 100 and some odd EVs into HP. I'm pretty certain that I live a Brave Bird. Liquidation will send this thing back into Gen 6. Not worried about it too much. He does go for the Brave Bird. It hits me for about 100 points of damage. That's about like 45-50%. That's kind of what I was expecting. And you see here, he's just gone. Now, if he was Flame Body, we got lucky and dodged the burn, but if he was Gale Wings, that's a different story. He could have been Gale Wings, but I'm guessing he was Flame Body, so I'm glad we dodged the burn there. He goes into Lycanroc. Originally, once he did this, I was really considering Aqua Jetting, but knowing that he's probably going to Accelerock, expecting me to Aqua Jet, I'd rather save Azu for something else later, so I'm just going to go into like my pretty much dedicated check to Lycanroc. Intimidate, with the fighting typing, just shuts this thing down completely, and especially if he's not running Psychic Fangs, which I don't believe he was. Tauros is a very, very good check to Lycanroc. So I go into that, I get the Intimidate off, we find out that he's Life Orb, just like our Azumarill. Hindsight being 2020, I should have close combated here, because his only switch-in at that point was the Dragapult, and I don't think he's going to go into Dragapult, because he wants to savor that. To make that his endgame. I just end up Raging Bull. I just end up clicking that. Which I honestly, again, like I said, I should have clicked Close Combat. He goes into this, and Close Combat would have probably done about 60% based on that damage. And then, as we're going to see here, he's clicking Brave Bird. And that CC damage plus the Brave Bird recoil, I think that means this thing's gone, or at the very least in Aqua Jet range, and then that just makes, that just gives another kill for Azu. So, hindsight being 2020, I should have definitely clicked Close Combat here, but I was worried that he was going to go into Dragapult. I really shouldn't have been. I don't think he was ever going to go Dragapult. It being his Terra Captain, it's just, yeah, it was going to be his endgame most of the time. I definitely should have click Close Combat, and as we're going to see here, based on this recoil damage, it does about 30% of, maybe 40% of recoil, and he gets the Moxie boost. Not surprised that he's Moxie. And him outspeeding me tells me he's Scarf, because I have enough speed to outspeed Max Jolly, Quaquaval, so I'm like, alright, knowing that he's Scarf, I'm going to go into Jolteon, force him out, and I'm just going to Volt Switch for free, because now that Clodsire's gone, I have no reason not to click Volt Switch every single time Jolteon comes in. Every time I'm clicking Volt Switch, I have no reason not to. It kills this. It's not going to do much to the Rotom, but that's perfectly fine. I'm not really worried about Rotom in this. He ends up switching, just like I'm expecting him to, knowing that pretty much like solidifies that he's Scarf, right? He goes into Rotom. I Volt Switch out. I do like 7%. I do maybe 10. I do basically no damage. It's completely negligible. I'm not, like, it's whatever. Basically 0 damage. And I believe here I just go into a Azumarill because in real time when I was playing this, I thought, like I said, I had prepped this team a week beforehand. It had been over a week since I had prepped this team and this battle had happened. So I thought I had enough speed to outspeed the Rotom, because to me that made a lot of sense to have that speed. But looking back at it, I realized I did enough to outspeed Uninvested Scissor, because that way the bulk would offset and that would allow me to take hits a little bit better, which was definitely the right play. Because I think if I have enough speed to outspeed Rotom, I don't take that Brave Bird from Talent Flame. So it ends up working out, but my brain just decided to fuck off. He ends up Volt Switching, kills me, he's outspeeding me, that's fine. And he goes right back into his Quaquaval. Little bit of a problem at this point. As you can see, I don't have a great switch into this thing anymore. But I just have to hope that I can, since I know he's Scarf now, I can kind of bait him into locking into something that benefits me. I consider going into the Iron Jugulus here. I think I end up going into Jolteon here. Just because I'm like, you know what? If I can bait him into locking into Wave Crash, that would be beneficial for me, because I can easily, like, I'm pretty sure Goldango can take that hit. I'm not worried about that. So, like, you know, I'm sitting here. I outspeed this thing. If he wants to switch out, he can. Ends up clicking Close Combat, which, fine by me, because now what he's done is given me a free switch into Goldango, and that forces him to switch out, and gives me a free Shadow Ball. And as we've seen from his team, he doesn't have a single switch into this Mon. He doesn't have any switch into Goldango. Nothing on his team wants to take a hit from it. Shadow Ball is 100% free. Him only having Pult, he's not going to switch into that. Quaquaval doesn't take this hit. Lightning Rock doesn't take this hit. Nothing left. Like, Rotom is the only thing that can take a hit. So, give me Shadow Ball for free. Beautiful. I love it. I almost Nasty Plotted here. I was considering it, but I'm like, I'd rather get 2 Shadow Balls off than get a Nasty Plot off. Because I don't think he's gonna stay in and, like, essentially sack this off. So me Shadow Balling here has to be the play. I Shadow Ball and I do about like 35%, but I get the Spadef drop, which helps me a lot. It mattered a little bit. It mattered to the extent of it gave me like another turn of Goldango, pretty much. It made it to where now this Shadow Ball, it ends up killing, and now I don't have to worry about like if he misses a overheat or, you know, whatever it would have ended up being, right? It allows me to take hits that I wouldn't have been able to take before, and I don't have to worry about sacking this thing off. But yeah, very, very fortunate. It mattered, like I said, to the extent of it kind of bought me a little bit more time, put me in a bit better of a position, but it didn't matter in the sense of this turn specifically gave me game. I think I still won at this point. He goes into the Quaquaval, and he hits me. I'm just sitting here like, you know what? I can take a hit from this thing. I'm decently bulky. Goldango has pretty decent bulk, so I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to click Shadow Ball. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to click Shadow Ball. I'm not super worried about it. So he ends up clicking Wave Crash. Like you see here, I take the hit. Again, I wouldn't have had the, like, Spadef drop not have happened. But it doesn't matter right now. All that matters, you know, Quavel's gone. Not worried about it. I no longer have to worry about that mod. Like I said, if I had close combated with Tauros earlier in the game, wouldn't have been a problem. But, you know, here we are. So, he ends up going into Lycanroc. I'm Colbur Berry. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sack this thing off. If I take a hit and, you know, click Make It Rain, get rid of this thing, great. Phenomenal. But realistically, I'm probably not going to take the hit. I'm at like 25%. I'm really just, yeah. I end up not taking the hit, even with the Colbur Berry. Perfectly, I was not expecting to take the hit. I was just clicking Make It Rain in the off chance that it happens. He ends up taking more life orb damage. Good for me. And now here, I kind of have a decision to make. I ended up going with the Iron Jugulus switch in, just because me being Charty Berry, the only thing that I think kills me at this point from this, from being at full, would be like a crit Stone Edge, I think kills me. But I think he was expecting me to be Scarfed. So he clicks Excel Rock. He does a decent amount of damage, don't get me wrong. He does 40%. And I click Dark Pulse, and I get rid of this thing, which is phenomenal. Really, I'm hoping to God. At this point, I'm pretty much solidifying the game. I don't lose at this point. He's never really going to kill me. I'm not worried about it. If he's physical, I was like, you know what? This could be a little bit of a problem if it's physical, like Dragon Dance or something. But he does end up being physical. But doing calcs post-game, I noticed that no matter what, Chansey just walled this thing. If it was special, obviously Draco Meteor plus Shadow Ball plus whatever would not have mattered. But you know what? We ended up taking the Dragon Darts. We lived on 3 fucking %. That would mean that either it was a roll for us to live or to die if he was adamant. But we end up living the hit. We win 2-0. GG's to Hayes. Really well played. But yeah, super excited for next week, you guys. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this one. Next week, I'm hoping to do a live comm. But yeah, guys, next week, we actually end up taking on Bloody, one of my, like, best friends. I love Bloody. Great guy. And I'm really, really excited to take him on. So GG's to Hayes. He played a really good game. And we're starting off Gen 9 with a massive W. And hoping for way more to come. See you guys next week. Peace out.